the day Luis Suárez got caught cheating on a language exam. Luis Suárez is no stranger to headlines. Over the years, he's been praised as one of the greatest strikers of his generation, and criticized just as often. But in 2020, during a turbulent chapter in his career, Suarez made headlines for something completely unexpected. No transfer drama. No red cards. No referees. This time, the controversy began in a classroom. What started as a routine formality quickly escalated into a full-blown investigation. It involved wiretaps, a university scandal, and a decision that would change the course of Suarez's career. This is one of the strangest football stories you've ever heard. The Summer of Change. Summer 2020. European football was still recovering from the COVID-19 shutdown. Stadiums were empty. Schedules were chaotic. And clubs were scrambling to rebuild. Barcelona, fresh off a humiliating 8-2 loss to Bayern Munich in the Champions League, were entering a full-blown crisis. The board had lost the dressing room. Messi wanted out. And Suarez, one of the club's most decorated modern strikers, was told he was no longer needed. After 6 years, over 190 goals, and countless trophies, his time at Camp Nou was over. Juventus enters the picture. As Suarez looked for a new challenge, an opportunity appeared in Italy. Juventus were searching for a proven forward to join their squad, someone who could complement Cristiano Ronaldo up front. On paper, Suarez was the perfect fit. Experienced, lethal in the box, and available for a cut price deal or even a free transfer. Talks moved quickly. Juventus and Suarez reportedly agreed on personal terms. Barcelona wouldn't stand in the way. But then, a small, bureaucratic detail began to complicate things. Something most fans would never even think about. Italian citizenship. Why citizenship mattered? It might seem strange, but Serie A has limits on how many non-EU players a team can register. Juventus had already filled their quota. So in order to make the move happen, Suarez needed to obtain an Italian passport. That wouldn't normally be a problem. His wife, Sofia Balbi, had Italian ancestry. Through her, Suarez could apply. But there was one major requirement. He had to prove he could speak Italian to at least an intermediate level, B1. That meant taking and passing an official language exam. Perugia, the exam day. September 17, 2020. Suarez arrived at the University for Foreigners in Perugia, a quiet, respected institution that handled many citizenship exams. He was calm. The examiners welcomed him warmly. News cameras caught him arriving. Local newspapers reported that the star striker was in town to tick off a final requirement for his Juventus move. He sat the test. It included reading, writing, listening, and speaking sections. Within hours, the results were out. Luis Suarez had passed the B1 Italian exam. His path to citizenship looked clear. But while the headlines were already writing about Suarez's move to Juventus, something wasn't sitting right with the authorities. The investigation begins. Unbeknownst to most, the Italian Guardia di Finanza had launched an investigation around the exam process at the university. They'd intercepted wiretaps involving professors and administrators. And what they discovered raised serious questions. According to prosecutors, Suarez had allegedly received the exam materials ahead of time. He was reportedly guaranteed to pass, no matter how he performed. Staff were overheard saying things like, "He doesn't conjugate verbs, he doesn't even speak." It sounded more like a scripted performance than a real test. The investigation quickly turned serious. The university rector and several professors were suspended. Documents were seized. Officials were questioned. and the public wanted answers. Juventus steps away. As the storm grew, Juventus began quietly stepping back from the saga. At first, their executives offered carefully worded statements. They insisted everything had been above board, that the club had only supported Suarez in routine procedures any foreign player might require. But behind the scenes, a very different picture was taking shape. Officially, Juventus claimed the transfer collapsed simply because the clock ran out. The summer window was closing fast, and bureaucratic delays made it impossible to register Suarez in time. But that explanation didn't convince everyone. Unofficially, there were persistent whispers, rumors that Italian prosecutors were looking into whether someone inside the club had used personal contacts at the University for Foreigners of Perugia to speed things along. Allegedly, phone records hinted at calls between Juventus lawyers and university officials. Some reports suggested instructions may have been passed to facilitate the exam process. No proof of direct involvement by Juventus leadership ever emerged. But the optics were disastrous. Every newspaper in Italy splashed Suarez's name across the front page, next to words like cheating, fraud, and investigation. Sponsors began to ask uncomfortable questions. It was no longer just a sporting matter. It was quickly becoming a legal and public relations nightmare. Faced with the growing scandal, Juventus decided it was safer to cut ties completely. They issued a final, curt statement confirming that all negotiations had ended. Just days before, Suarez had been so close to wearing the black and white stripes that Italian media were already designing mock-ups of his shirt. Now, all those plans were scrapped. In a matter of days, what had seemed like a done deal collapsed into chaos. The move that should have relaunched his career had instead left Luis Suarez exposed and humiliated, still without a club, and back to square one. The Atletico Madrid twist. While Juventus were out, Atletico Madrid moved in. Diego Simeone didn't hesitate. He believed Suarez still had plenty to offer, and the striker, furious and motivated, was eager to prove it. The deal was sealed quickly. Barcelona let him leave for free. Suarez signed with Atletico in late September 2020. And just like that, one of the strangest off-field sagas in football history was behind him. But his answer would come, not in a courtroom, but on the pitch. Redemption season. In the 2020-21 season, Suarez exploded back to form. He scored 21 goals in La Liga. He delivered match-winning performances. He became Simeone's talisman. And at the end of that season, Luis Suarez lifted the La Liga trophy with Atletico Madrid, breaking the Real Madrid-Barcelona grip on Spanish football. Not long after, in tears, he said, "Barca didn't value me. Atletico opened the door for me." It was redemption in the purest form. A routine language exam. A footballer's future. A university under investigation. The story of Luis Suarez's failed Juventus move had everything: ambition, scandal, and an unexpected ending. He was never charged with wrongdoing. But the controversy followed him, if only for a while. And in the end, he answered his critics the only way he knew how: by scoring goals. If you enjoyed the story, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And if you love football stories like this, make sure to subscribe for more.